London-based features writer and reporter Stuart Blakley joins us now with more reaction on the passing of Prince Philip. Good evening, and thank you so much for your time, Stuart. And I know that it's, of course, during the day where you are, but certainly this is a huge loss to the royal family.
Yeah, good evening, everyone from London. So I'm sitting here about 20 minutes from Buckingham Palace, where the more observant people this morning around lunchtime would have seen the flag being lowered to half-mast, and that was a sign something had happened, someone important had died in the royal family. And sure enough, the Queen made an announcement shortly after that, that with great sorrow were the words that she used, and the passing of her husband, and of course her royal consort. And our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, reiterated that and did note that he was the longest running royal consort in all of history. As your news presenter mentioned earlier, he died aged 99, so unfortunately didn't quite make it to his 100th birthday in June. However, he had been married for 73 years to the Queen. They met, it was love at first sight. She was only 13, he was 18. They're second cousins, and a few years later they got together and then got married in Westminster Abbey. This evening, Westminster Abbey will be chiming its bells 99 times in memory of His Royal Highness, the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. And there's a nice connection, actually, where Princess Elizabeth, as she was then, and Prince Philip, they just got married, and they went on safari as part of a Commonwealth tour to Kenya. And they were staying in Kenya on safari when they learnt of Princess Elizabeth's father, that was the late King George VI, had just died. So in effect, the Queen really became the Queen in Kenya, and then of course she had her formal coronation. Prince Philip was a great wildlife supporter and had many visits to various countries in Kenya. He was involved with 800 charities. He attended 20,000 events, and perhaps most famously of all, he set up the Duke of Edinburgh Award for school children, and that is in many countries in Africa, Europe, and elsewhere. So he leaves behind his 4 children, 8 grandchildren, and 10 great-grandchildren. In terms of his character, he had a great sense of humour, quite spiky at times, so it wasn't always the easiest, but he once referred to himself as a cantankerous old sod. However, it's his sense of duty which was very strong, and that's what he'll be remembered for. He was a real character, and he dedicated his entire adult life to public service. So today, in London, we truly are in mourning, private mourning and official mourning for 8 days. Sorry, yes?
Pardon me, Stuart. You know, you talk about, their relationship, their marriage. Certainly some have said that he was so loyal to her, and it is that solidity of that marriage that really helped her with her reign.
Absolutely. So he had a very strong career in the Navy. He actually is a World War II veteran, and he gave up his career to be consort, in other words, number 2 to his wife. So she was not only his wife, but also his sovereign. And I do think that's something, a lesson for some of the younger members, dare I say, today.
And when we then look at him and his own personal contribution, as you've just said, to, the Queen's reign, certainly some are saying that, his loyalty to his wife really made it easy for, her to reign, but at the same time made it easy for him to be the number 2, as you've had, just described, the illustrious career that he himself had and the contribution that he then made to, everyone else that came into contact with him, and particularly those awards that you're then talking about.
Absolutely. He really dedicated his life to public service, and he only retired, it was 2017, so he was well into his 90s. Basically, he worked for 30 years longer than I'm sure any of us intend to. So he really did dedicate his entire life. However, he wasn't someone who stood on great fuss, and one of his last wishes was not to have a state funeral. Of course, we have coronavirus here, so there will be restrictions anyway. I believe that funerals are currently limited to 30 people. He will be, the funeral will take place in the beautiful St George's Chapel in the grounds of Windsor Castle, so it will be a private funeral, and then he will be buried in Frogmore, the estate next door, in the family cemetery, and he'll be close to Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. So it really feels like the end of an era here in terms of Prince Philip passing. Of course, the wonderful new royals, particularly Catherine William coming forward, but really, I mean, if we think of it that almost everyone has lived throughout their life with Prince Philip. Some are in the news, some are in the media, some are in the background.
And let's talk then about, you know, the Queen. Have you heard anything about how she's receiving the news?
It's been very private. That an official statement simply went up on the Royals' website, and as I said, the phrase she used was "with great sorrow." The Queen, as we know, also like her late husband, is very stoic. She, from her coronation, she dedicated her entire life to service. And of course, we've got to remember as well, these are people of great faith, where the Queen is the head of the Church of England, and so that was very important for both of them. The Queen will keep going. I'm sure she's absolutely personally devastated. I mean, who wouldn't be after 73 years of marriage? And by all accounts, it was a very good, very supportive, close marriage. So no doubt she's mourning, but she will mourn in private. The Queen isn't someone to show her emotions on her sleeve. She's very much the stiff upper lip, but I'm sure in the next few days we'll hear more from the royal family themselves.
And we've also, you know, heard from Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, who have also, you know, just thanked him for his service and how he will be greatly missed.
That's right. So they put up on their website just a short message: "Thank you for your service. You will be greatly missed." So I think that sums it up. Service, which is his public persona, greatly missed is really talking. It's a family member. It's a much loved father, grandfather, and indeed great-grandfather has passed.
And are members of the public observing the COVID-19 restrictions?
Well, the news channels and the authorities have asked for crowds not to gather. However, down at Buckingham Palace, just 20 minutes away, people are leaving flowers outside, and also at Windsor Castle, where he died this morning, flowers are being laid and tributes. However, particularly at Windsor Castle, the police are asking the flowers to be dispersed along different avenues. So it is very unfortunate in the current circumstances, but as I said, he didn't actually want a state funeral. So people are being encouraged to really try and behave and keep within the restrictions, albeit the restrictions have slightly lifted in England.
All right, Stuart, thank you so much for your time. We certainly do appreciate it here in South Africa, and certainly do appreciate those insights that you have shared with us there. That's Stuart Blakley, who is a London-based features writer and reporter.